is Let's Get Retro. I would look at every Gauntlet port that's out there, from the good to the really, really not so good. Anyway, let's watch. Hey there, this is my first look at one of the ports of Gauntlet. This is a special one for me for a couple of reasons. This is the Atari 8-bit version. I'm emulating it today because I had a few problems with the video capture. It's special for a few reasons. Firstly, Gauntlet, the arcade machine, was influenced by a game, as you can see there, called didnt, which, okay, doesn't look that much like Gauntlet, but it's a 4-player game set in a dungeon. It was similar enough that there had to be a little settlement with the person that came up with it, so yeah, just to make you aware. The second reason it's special is that when I was a nipper, I had an Atari 8-bit, an Atari 800 XL, and we didn't get many, you know, arcade ports because it didn't really do that well in Europe, and in the States they're in the middle of the video games crash. But being an Atari game, Atari system, we got Gauntlet, and I remember at the time playing it with my friends and thinking, this is the most arcade perfect game ever. Now obviously it's not. If you saw my previous video there, I had a quick look at the various characters, and sorry, at the arcade game rather, and this is one of the 4 characters here. This is Thor, but he's really blocky looking. He looks like he's carrying a giant foam hammer. The exit is just an E, as you saw there. The ghosts are kind of, like, the graphics are kind of scaled down for a lot of the monsters. They're not bad now, but it just isn't as, it's a little bit slow. The colours are very off, and I at the time I hadn't realised everything was a certain hue. Like, everything's a red hue here, and you'll see later on everything's a sort of, there's a central colour for each level. But I mean, on the other hand, you know, at the time I was delighted to actually get, you know, hold of a modern arcade game that wasn't, you know, scramble. So you know, it's got that going for it straight away. There aren't really any bad ports of Gauntlet. There you go, suspense ruined. I mean, anything I've seen so far, and I played through a lot, and I own a hell of a lot, is you know, they've all got their good sides and their bad sides. I am taking a lot of damage here. God, it's weird. It looks like a guy with a foam hammer, and he's sort of peeing on the ghosts. If you look at it, it's just bizarre. It's probably best not to think about that. Sound is actually pretty good. A little bassy version of the music, but the actual sound itself is pretty good. Now that's what I mean. You see the way this is everything is sort of a grey hue now, right? Those grunts, again, they're recognisable if you play the arcade game, and they're all very well defined, but well, comparatively well defined. The screen size as well isn't fantastic. Again, back when I played this as an Atari owner, not arcade owner, as an Atari owner, I did it from tape because the disc drive was too expensive in my part of the world. And the way it would work is it would load up the main game, and then it would load up each of the it would load up blocks of levels. And what it does is after the 8th level, they're all random. And how it did that was it basically would load a block of levels and then randomize those. And then when it got to the end of those, you'd play your next block of levels and then randomize those as well. So it wasn't, well, as far as I know, from what I've read, that's the way it was doing it. It's what seems to happen when I played it. So if I'm wrong, please correct me. There was also an add-on pack, and this is back before add-on packs were a thing, called Gauntlet Deeper Dungeons, and it was literally what it says in the tin. It was more levels for Gauntlet, and the Atari got that as well. And there was even a design your own level. When you got your Gauntlet game, there was a on the back of the tape there was a grid, and it was literally draw your level in here, you know, put all your various icons in for the map, and if we think it's good enough, we'll make it. And they did. If you get hold of a copy off eBay, it's probably a bit late to send it in, but I think you got like a free t-shirt or something for, you know, for doing their work, for being a contractor basically. But that was a pretty cool little thing. he looks so blocky. I mean, like I said, when I was this is the thing about the one downside to retro gaming is that, you know, you play all the stuff that you thought was amazing as a kid, and then you realise that it's not fantastic. Again, as I said, that any version of Gauntlet I've played through, there's none necessarily bad. Some are just very different from the arcade, and this is just I'm surprised the Atari, you know, they weren't able to get it better. I mean, there's a couple of things. There's a couple of glitches. Now, it may be the emulator, because I didn't notice this when I played it on the real thing, but I've noticed that occasionally your shots will sail through the bad guys, the mobs, the monsters. There's no animation for hitting the generators and things when you're doing hand-to-hand, but I don't think that's something that doesn't crop up in many versions. The level design it seems to be fairly accurate. The sound, as I mentioned, there's not a fantastic amount, but what's there is pretty accurate. You can do stuff as well, like the teleporter bug for death works. In other words, you can telefrag him. Although I remember when I did it, your kind of my where the score is there, which is warrior. That's a glitch. To half it was black, and bear in mind that's a 25, 30-year-old memory, close enough to 30-year-old memory. So I may be slightly wrong with that, but I do remember you could definitely teleport and kill death that way. But God, it just looks like a man holding a giant hammer while peeing in the ghosts. Just try not to see that. There you go, that's what you're paying your internet subscription for. Blocky micturation. Anyway, so in one sense I was a bit disappointed playing this because, you know, it wasn't the arcade you know, arcade perfect port that I thought it was. But on the other hand, it's not bad. And bearing in mind the Atari just doesn't see enough, you know, arcade conversions. You know, it's I think it was well worth my money as a kid, and it's well worth a play now. I just wish it was a bit faster, and I wish I hadn't noticed that thing where a bit of looking like he was wearing holding a giant mallet while peeing. I can't not see that now. Ah, oh, my childhood's ruined. Everything looks sort of sepia toned. Except for Thor there, he's still wearing his red nappy. And his hammer. That's supposed to be an axe, it just looks like a hammer. Gauntlet is a lot more fun two-player, I'll be honest. It just, for the timetable I have on actually doing these reviews, I couldn't draft somebody in. I might see if I can have some sort of online game, rope a few mates in, and show you a 4-player game. But it'll just consist of someone stealing all the food and everyone shouting at each other, and yeah, it's all fun. So after this, I'm going to be looking at the Commodore 64 version, which is what I was playing after I sold my Atari because there was no bloody games left for it. And sorry, there's no games in the shops where I lived in Ireland, and I had to go off and buy a Commodore 64 off a dodgy guy that sold second-hand ones. I had to sell my Atari for very little money and then buy it back years later for lots and lots off eBay. Ooh, find the hidden potion. Shots now stolen other players who aren't playing because I'm sad I was on my own. Now, as you see, yeah, we still have the theme today is red, rouge. Those weird bubble things. I'm not having bubble flashbacks after my epic playthrough. They're lobbers, and they're lobbing bricks at me. Just lovely. Now, as I mentioned, the block of levels at this point is randomised, which isn't a big thing if you're a disc owner, but for tape owners it was great, and very confusing the first time you played, especially when you'd mapped out the level. as an 8-year-old, and then went back to it again, and it was completely different, and you thought you were losing your mind. Again, you're going to see this a lot. These are not going to be epic playthroughs lasting days. This is just me having a quick blast at it. And the problem with Gauntlet is you need to avoid getting mobbed like this. You're not able to, especially if you're playing on a home conversion on a... I'm using an arcade stick for this, by the way, so if you hear clicky noises in the background, that's why. I have it set up because a lot of these home conversions were, relied on the keys, so it's set up using joy to key to try and keep everything nice. Again, I tried to keep everything as same for each playthrough as I could, so you'll be hearing that clicky noise probably in the background. Oh, I've got extra fight power. I can notice no difference whatsoever. I'm not sure if there's only one level of bad guy in this level. Oh no, there's different types of generators. That skull and crossbones is slightly less... Oh, poison food, yuck. The skull and crossbones generator is slightly less powerful than the one there. It looks like dead cattle up there, which is a bit of a rib cage as well. God, I say the weirdest things in these YouTube videos. Going down fighting, folks. And they're just queuing up to kill me. Alright, that's it. Just get rid of the potion there, just to... because I'm not going to get a chance to use it. Oh, the sorcerers. I hate them. You think you've killed them and it just turns out they just blinked through it. Just like mages in Warcraft. Health keeps me going just a little bit longer. Can I eke this out to one more level? Probably not. Oh, there's more food there. Provided I don't do anything stupid like shoot it, I should be okay. That's it, line up. Line up for my shots. Oh, the food. Oh, bugger. It's too late now. Just keep going. There's an exit. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it. Yeah! Nail biting stuff. Well, no, not so much. Now this is green. Lots of greenery. So anyway, this is just a quick taster of the Atari version. I'm going to be playing this myself later on. Yeah, anyway, next up, the Commodore, if I can get around to setting it up.